maayong gabi Ani ana pud ta karon sa ato ang regular fourth Wednesday of the month programming here on CCTN, Celia's Partners in Law. I am your anchor for this evening, Attorney Irene Ann C. Caballes, both of the Cebu Lady Lawyers Association and of the Legal Alternatives for Women Center, Inc. Joining me this evening are two of our young and dashing new lawyers who are also new to our topic this evening because bag-o pa kayo ni na minted ang new Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability for Lawyers. May I introduce you now to our guests? With me is Attorney John Dexter Mantos. Good evening, Attorney Dexter.
Good evening, Attorney Irene.
And also, naapod ko yung nato si Attorney Anisito Garvez, but he prefers to be called Attorney Boycie. Good evening, Attorney Boyce.
Good evening, Attorney I.
Thank you kaayo pag-join nato karong gabi una. This is, tonight is July 26, the last Wednesday of the month. Unya, lami kaayo i-discuss karon ang ato ang topic tungod kay it really affects lawyers and how we deal with the courts, the public, the clients, with our fellow brother lawyers, and even the community, both physical community and online community.
Especially.
Okay. First up, moingon ta nga bag-o ni ang ato ang Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability for Lawyers. When was this enacted? When did it take effect?
As I read ito niya, about 34 years old, nagito ang original nga
Yes.
Code of Professional Responsibility. That's why Supreme Court nag-feel sila nga it's time for the code to keep up with the times and be updated. So 34 years after, karon 2023, na-update na gid siya.
So this year pag yun take
year,
effect.
good.
Nya, katong ato ang old lawyers oath. Bag-o pud to, I heard kay the Kagiwao batch, ang batch nga most junior ninyo because Attorney Dexter and Attorney Boycie are from the BBE batch of lawyers. So the newest one, the Kagiwaos, were in fact the first, if I'm not mistaken, to take their oath under the new oath.
Yes.
So unsay changes sa new
Ikaw, Attorney.
Sound naman tayo hindi sa core sa oath itself kay similar lang yun, but like some words are updated lang, like for example nga I will maintain allegiance to the Republic of the Philippines. Sa new code kay I will maintain fealty, which is I think for me better pod nga word to represent how a lawyer should be towards the Republic. Fealty, not just allegiance but also the loyalty, the responsibility, the dignity.
Gipalaw man ang allegiance, not just to include nga laban ko sa Republic of the Philippines, pero fealty, I am faithful, I am loyal, I am devoted.
Yes.
So maka-inspire of patriotism.
And then I think generally same lang siya, Attorney, but malay ang more updated lang ang words. Then example, promoting the rule of law and regime, truth, justice, freedom, equality. Before kay wala may kanang promoting the rule of law, mark kanang for truth, justice, freedom. So gipalawod gyapon nga to cover a wider range or wider coverage for the oath of for new lawyers to practice in their lawyering.
I think that's also significant nung emphasize ang rule of law because even if you are advocating for truth, freedom, justice, you should do it in a way that is legal.
In consonance with the law.
In consonance with the law, dili kay magpataka na lang sa tao. Kay anyway, ang akong intention for truth, justice, and kanang kuan man, truth, justice, freedom, kanang mga ideas, love for country, we have to do it still within the rule and the bounds of law.
Yes.
Okay. And sa format sa ato ang old Code of Professional Responsibility, it was very easy enough to remember.
Yes.
Katong ato ang duties. Okay, we could divide it into the duties to the court, duty to the
to our clients,
clients,
and duty to our fellow
fellow
our
lawyers.
fellow lawyers, and duty to the public
Yes,
in
to the
general. Karon, are these classifications still there? Or lahi na? And then na-spread out na through all?
Actually, na-spread
That
out
code.
na siya throughout the whole kaning new code of professional responsibility and accountability. Gi-categorize, mura ni siya, ka-remember ka atong sa una, attorney katong code of judicial ethics. Mura na siya yung ani kay,
Ang
nanay mga
katong canons of judicial conduct. So what's sauce for the judges is sauce also for the lawyers na karon. So ang first, if I remember correctly, ang first canon sa kanang judicial conduct, independence man to, mao gyapon.
Mao gihapon, independence gihapon karon, but gi-incorporate na pud ang mga responsibilities and duties sa lawyers diri. Ngadto sa court, ngadto sa society o sa ihalang mga clients.
Okay.
O fellow nga lawyers nila.
Kani, for example, na ako'y kuan gyud ani, na ako'y question ani kay accepted gid na courts should be independent. But can lawyers truly be independent when in fact we are also bound to if I'm a junior lawyer, I work in a firm, I'm bound also by the management decisions of my senior
Lawyer
partner,
or
boss,
Yes.
no? Or naamang gid nay seniority, and if you're independent, that's okay for solo practitioners, I suppose. But even solo practitioners, naapoy certain deliverables or expectations from their own clients.
Yes.
So, how can lawyers truly be independent within the context of the canons of professional responsibility?
I think in the context of the canons, attorney, independence can still be exercised. Because as an example, attorney, when you're part of a law firm or you have a superior, I think the independence still stays within the firm or within your firm or your superior, because sa atong bagong rules, attorney, for example, ang superior to a law firm kay area mo responsibility ang persons below him, like mga paralegal, mga junior lawyers. So there's still independence as what understood within that unit, but there's independence from other law firms as well. But still, independence should not be separate from the responsibility of the seniors or the higher ups to their subordinates.
And I suppose when you say independence of lawyers, maskin pag junior lawyer ra ka, at some point, if a senior lawyer would attempt to make you do an action which is unethical, you have to stand your
Yes.
ground and
Yes, of course.
refuse to do the same.
Yes.
No, so murag mauna siya kanang yes, you can toe the law firm line, but only to a certain extent.
Yes.
Kung dili maka-violate sa imuhang personal independence or integrity as
Yes.
a counsel or a legal counsel.
And to cover po diri ang kuan independence from the lawyer to his or her clients nga kanang dili pwede makadictate ang client sa kung unsay ganahan unsay
Buhaton.
dapat buhaton sa lawyer, because nabi uban ana nga client sa attorney no ka-encounter.
And I remember when I was a new lawyer, murag ganahan yung kay taon mo please sa
Yes,
ang client without remembering nga di man din ni sila mo'y abogado ngano sila may magdiktar unsaon pagpadagan sa kanang
Sa
kaso.
kaso.
Kita may abogado.
Yes.
They can tell us what they want unta nga outcome, and we can tell them mauni ang expected if we follow the law. Di ta mo deviate just to get our client what they
What they
want.
Yes.
Of course, they can suggest what they want or what the results, but of course, as lawyers, it's our responsibility to orient them the realities
The
po
reality,
sa court o sa
Dili na
process.
pwede.
Yes.
Dili na nato pwede padiritsog ing ana. Attorney, pwede di na lang nato padadaan og kopya. Di man gyapon na utubag.
Oo.
Malangay man tang magbuhat patas kopya. Dili gyud na pwede. Dili na pwede. So ing ana nga mga independence, no, mao na gi-contemplate under this canon. And
Yes.
on the canon of the next canon, unsa toy kuan?
Ang next canon, attorney, is canon 2, which is on propriety.
Ay, kana. Propriety. how proper is proper without actually curtailing freedom of speech and expression? Kay maumang yun ay magbangga. Are we supposed to be kanang robots nga wala tay murag kinahanglan we have the same demeanor, the same kanang standards of GMRC, good manners or right conduct, or kanang naapod tay gamayng room for individuality. So how proper is proper?
So as per kuan attorney, it's defined under section 1 sa canon 2 nga a lawyer shall ang proper conduct it provides nga a lawyer shall not engage in unlawful, dishonest, immoral or deceitful conduct. So that's how the code defines proper conduct.
So dili pwede og moak, of course lawyer ka niya ikaw na yun naguna-una og illegal nya immoral kanang immoral, some might be not illegal but it is still dili kanang
Dili siya morally accepted.
dili siya morally acceptable. So as much as possible dili pwede mo duog immoral immoral acts maski wa pa ning reklamo like paningna ana minyo nga lawyers unya na mga uyab-uyab sa gawa sa kaminyoon why ning reklamo. So waon tay sabit pero ikaw nga gitan-aw sa uban nga you're supposed to know nga dili na pwede mag-adultery or mag-concubinage or engage in illicit relations. So dili jud na dapat.
But speaking of we have attorney napod sa code nga for lawyers, example, not to be in a relationship with their clients or their
kana murag kana makumbaan ko kana siya kay hala not to be in a relationship with your client. Yeah, what if somewhere along the way nagkasuod jud mo? No? It started out as a purely business relationship, yeah, somewhere along the way nagkasuod mo. And then naay ni fall.
Pero murag wala ba lagi kabutan dito nga except nga kanang murag if ma-terminate na.
Of course. Of course, dili ko siya forever.
Wala na lang ma-terminate
So,
ang lawyer client.
ako mo'y lawyer niya na ako'y client niya na in love ming duha. Unsa man ato na lang yun i-compromise. Ma-terminate na
Oh, good.
ma-terminate na ni ang kaso ni mo kay para but anyway, mao na siya mo'y new development. I'm not really quite sure if I agree with it because to my mind, but this is probably on a layman's term, as long as you are two consenting adults who have full capacity to enter into that relationship, dili man koan.
Should not be dictated.
It should not be dictated upon because I've heard also na ay mga criticisms on too much moralizing on ethics when ethics should just be proper conduct and behavior. But nevertheless, because that is what is stated in our canons, lawyers, ayaw sa muka in love sa inyo client. Pero okay ra kung in love na mo daan kasado na daan. Then you can represent each other. Two lawyers who are husband and wife, why problema? You can represent each other. Or if they are already in a relationship to begin with. To begin with. Okay.
So another pod nga salient features sa kaning canon 2 attorney is kaning dignified conduct nga define pod sa Supreme Court as ang lawyers kina sila responsibility or duty na mo-act with courtesy, civility, fairness and candor towards fellow members of the bar. So dapat
kana as much as possible dili mag-away-away ang mga
lawyer.
abogado. Di magpaklaro sa ilang kasuya to each other nga mag-baiting na hinuon. Which reminds me, daghan nga baiting wala nahitabo physically in the kanang the physical world nga dili kinahanglan nga ang mga abogado magsugat para mag-away. Usahay ang away naa sa social media. Unya ang social media na-appeal sa kanang new code of professional responsibility and accountability. But since we have to pause for a few reminders from our friends, please stay with us until we come back. back, CK. Earlier, before the break, we were talking about how social media has become part of the code of professional responsibility
Yes.
for lawyers. Kindly elucidate. Can you imagine na ay canon
Kanan.
solely for the responsible use of social
media.
media.
Mao gini nga part attorney ang murag new sa atong code karon nga murag magi-focus sa karon sa mga news articles o mga sa ato pa sa the field of lawyers pod mao gini ang part sa new canon.
Pero nagbasa ko ba sa kanang kana siya nga canon that should apply not just on social media, on any media,
yes.
on any utterance, on anything you say out loud.
Dili kay
Actually,
social media
dili
lang.
lang kay social media kay appeal yun na siguro sa siya sa proper conduct.
Lagi.
Uy.
Yes.
So the way I see it, our new CPRA is actually more of a do's and don'ts manual. So what are we supposed to do and what are we not supposed to do when it comes to social media? I admit, gamit na bagyo kong social media. Ikaw
Yan,
attorney.
ako social media.
Dexter, ikaw attorney. Kita, natatanan. Facebook. Most of the time, ang akong i-post, mga kuan, kanang kaon-kaon, laag-laag. Pwede ra na.
Okay ra na siya.
Pwede ra attorney. Ay kat.
Sige.
Actually, attorney, okay na ba good mag-post o sa social media? But I think sa atong code lang ron, gi-emphasize lang gid siya because it's a new medium as well as if you post something in social media, it becomes eternal.
It becomes there
Yes,
forever.
Bisa pag ma-delete ni mo or anything, there's
So,
screenshots.
walay ko ano, way prescription.
Okay.
Way prescription
Yes,
nga bahalag kanus pa na nimo gi-post if it's there and you said it and nauting kaya na.
Lagi.
It's a continuing offense
Mao gyud.
all throughout kung naa sa social media.
media.
So how are we supposed to responsibly use social media?
I think for this canon attorney, I think ang word yun dapat kay mindfulness. Being mindful on what you post and being mindful on maintaining the dignity of the legal practice. Anything you post should not degrade the legal practice, should not question the courts.
Or even degrade yourself.
Yes.
Kay gitan-aw baya ka niya, mataka kag storya din ha nang lambast ka og private citizen or worst fellow
Fellow lawyer.
lawyer. Nya kibaw baya gyud ta nga naay mga kanang pages ba nga strictly for lawyers nga groups. Mention na lang ta, kita man siguro tanan. Membros Musta Attorney, membros sa abogadong Pinoy, as well as our own kanang chapters, groups, or pages. So, kita nga gatan-aw, naabay ka ng breed of people more marites than lawyers. Pero ako parang ako kinamaritesan na ba
Daghan kayo.
kinamaritesan gyud ning mga abogado di kita nga nagsigig tan-aw din ha mahimo tang popcorn.
Okay.
Oh,
Yung audience sa mga mga drama.
mawagtangan og kanang dignidad ang ato ang kaugalingon kung dili po ta mindful sakto na Attorney Boyce, di po ta mindful of what we post. Yeah, unsa pa?
And lawyer also shall not knowingly or maliciously post, share, upload, or otherwise disseminate false or unverified statements, claims,
Isura ana.
or commit any act.
Misinformation.
Daghan baya og kuan, daghan baya og kanang mga information just floating out there
Yes,
on social
Lagi.
media. Well, the fact might be there na ana siya. Sometimes the opinions nga associated or the conclusions nga you draw from the kuan gikuanan ang kuan kay para gyud na sample mga what do you call this, mga recent developments karon like sa gobyerno na ay mga gipang sign into bill kanang Maharlika Fund para gyud na example lang para gyud na it's a fact. Signed into law na ang Maharlika, but people will then have opinions over it. And when you
Yes.
publish your opinions, how do you know that that is mura ba
Factual.
para isulti nimo
Factual,
mura na baya na og kanang na part na mura the conclusions you draw from it mura na po kag naghatag og bag-o nga information.
Yes.
How do we say that that is verified, false, or lisod?
Yes, good ni. I think with that attorney kay kung opinion yun Kay I think there should be a degree of freedom there as well. As well,
Opinion lang ni nako ha.
Imo i-specify gud niya opinion niya.
Opinion ra ni nako ha.
And I think na po put on greater weight on opinions from us kay lawyer gud ta.
Because people really do put greater weight on our opinions. So when we make our opinions, kung mag-opinion sad siguro ta, we have to make sure also nga dili ra na purely speculative. You're really making valid inferences.
Yes.
You're not just making
Good.
speculations. Valid good ang imuhang
As
inference.
lawyers, attorney, it's our responsibility to research yun, to fact check,
before.
to verify the sources para the information we're giving out to the world as well kay sakto to more or less sakto gyud.
Or even if it's an opinion, but it is an opinion nga informed.
Yes.
Informed.
Opinion.
So, ingana, unsa pa?
Exactly.
Niya kanang moingon nga kuan, kanang like example, moingon nga katumanggod siya. Mauman to siya mo nakakos nga nagbuwag ni sila.
Kana marites na gid.
Kana marites na gyud na. Usahay.
Sabot sa
Hoy,
contact.
ikaw ha, tigkuan ka. It might even be said in jest. And it's placed on social media. Hoy, ikaw ha, ikaw babayi, kuan kayo ka. Kanang style jud ni mo, hilig jud nimo nga ikaw ra gyud moy kanang kinahanglan mahimong crush ng tibuok bayan. Kuya pud na. Kuya pud na, especially if dili taken lightly sa
Ang
pikas.
context. Okay.
Sa pa.
Okay, next. Kuan pod, a lawyer shall not create, maintain, or operate accounts in social media to hide his or her identity. Para sa mga dummy accounts.
Okay, so dili sige. So,
Pero lisod man sa-
sige, okay na. Ako namang gibutang nga ako nga the full name na yun. Sa una, it used to be like we sometimes want to maintain some form of privacy,
Yes,
no? So that
privacy.
only our katong mga tinuod jud na friends who know us and can identify us by this nickname or so, maupod mo yung atong i-invite in. Dili pwede ang kuan, dili pwede ang nicknames. Daghan ra ba kayo na magbali-bali?
Actually, pwede ra guro ang nicknames, but
Or kanang mga
mag-create
acronyms,
lang
di
dyan
ba?
og kanang dummy account ba para ma-circumvent
different
ang
lang yung
kaning
identity,
for purposes of circumventing the kaning mga atong code of professional responsibility. O mag-create siya dummy account para i-bash para mo spread og fake news or para i-bash
Or
ang
makuan,
idauton ang lain nga person.
But a lawyer can maintain a vlog without using his or her name. Like,
Yes.
for example, I might be the thinking abogado. Okay, na may mga thinking the thinking abogada. Pwede ra.
Pwede
Pero
ra gyud
at some point in time, I'd have to disclose my identity.
Yes.
Good, kay, di ba? You'd have to.
Okay. But I think dili as long as dili ka mo using it to circumvent the rules, so I think it's okay to maintain the anonymity as long as you're not using those dummy accounts,
dummy accounts in order to just spread mga marites nga false and
Yes.
verified information. Or worse, na uban nga mag-use gyud ana nga kanang account kay mag-identity theft. Mag-pretend
Bitaw.
nga ako si kuan unya para madaot.
Misrepresent.
Misrepresent.
Another po attorney is kaning non-disclosure of privileged information through online post. Kay nabay uban nga kana sa mga group chat nga mo disclose gali sa circumstance sa ilahang case para mangayo og other advices sa other lawyers who sa inyong take ani nga kuan.
Oo. Pero that's also not just online posts, but that's also included sa mga chats, no? Of
Yes,
course, kay lawyer-client ka ng confidentiality. So,
Included pa attorney ka ng mga kaso nila, like picture na ng mga ilang mga pleading.
nabiuban picture sa pleading, yung makalimot og papas sa mga ngalan.
Na-punish mo yan nga kung ang kikipost ang tibuok page, so kana i-avoid na dapat sa
Niya
mga kuan.
labi ng criminal case, niya conviction, yes, na-convict na di ang katungan sa akusado
Klaro
dito
kayo.
na lista, so di man siguro na business of everyone else, so baka reklamo gid in town.
So next attorney sa atong canon 3, which is fidelity.
Wow, kanang fidelity. Okay. Lawyers are supposed to be faithful to so many things. In fact, it's really about the old code of professional responsibility really is about fidelity, about what your obligation is, what you owe to the courts, the clients, the
Fellow lawyer.
profession, and also the
The
public.
Yes.
So karon diri na tanan fidelity.
Giusa na
Giusa. So unsa may ato ang kuan? We are married to our professions naman karon. Unsa man ato
So ang first
mga-
good attorney is fidelity to the
Sobra
practice
pang
of
kuan,
law.
sobra pa ni og kanang kaminyoon.
Sobra.
Kay ang ato ang obligation as spouses, no, kung sa kaminyoon pa kay mutual love, mutual respect, mutual support, o mutual fidelity, and the obligation to live a conjugal life together, to stay together. Kani, daghan kitag kana.
Daghan kayo.
We have to be faithful to our legal profession by unsa ito ang
Covered
obligations.
Unsa?
Fidelity.
Yes, same question na
Okay, what are our duties of fidelity? Faithful to what?
Faithful to the Constitution, to the laws, and kana siya primarily attorney.
Faithful to the Constitution, so do not plot to overthrow the government.
Yes,
Kay dili na faithful to the Constitution.
Uphold the Constitution, obey the laws of the land, promote respect for laws and legal processes, and safeguard human rights, and at all times advance the honor and integrity of the legal profession.
Okay. So kana.
So I think ang general ang mga heavy ka na attorney kay ang fidelity to client dito sa nga kanang in creating a lawyer-client relationship.
Sige, unsa may ato ang mga bantayanan nga dili ta mabuwasot.
I think in relation pa attorney sa katong ganina sa social media, like example napod sa code nga if kanang mo ask gani ang person sa social media or kanang mga symposium, seminar o kanang general questions, okay ra. But if the person would ask from a specific set of facts or situations, if mo tubag ang lawyer, mo create na og kanang lawyer-client relationship.
So,
Yes.
set in na tong confidentiality.
Kay ning kuan naman ning hatag namang kag advice on something specifically and particularly to their own
Situation.
situation.
no.
Ang problema ana kay for us, especially Attorney Dexter, Attorney Boyce, and I, we work in public interest NGO. No, we have an advocacy.
Yes.
So chances are, Ana, when we're talking about general principles of law in trainings or orientations, naagid na yung mga clients nga immediately makarelate sa ilang kaugalingon.
Sa situation.
They have no other way of saying it except to say it. Ang akong anak ba na ingani, ang akong kuan, ako bagi ingani ko, pwede na. How do we answer generally? Nga general gihapon.
I think kada attorney kay since ang facts nga gata kay specific naman to herself or himself, kana ma-create na gid na siya og kanang lawyer-client relationship. Although not really as encompassing nagi-confidentiality kay na other people.
Yaman sang gisulti to everyone else. But ako apud ana just to not give the idea nga that at least to the person asking that question that you are already his or her lawyer. The way to do it, I suppose, would be to answer from a general a provision of law. Makapangayo kog suporta basta ginikanan mo suporta yung anak. No, that is kanang that is canon. Actually, that is canon. Basta ginikanan mo suporta gyud og anak nga minor di edad. Maskin pag naminyo na ang pikas nga kuan ang amahan attorney, maskin pag naminyo wa man nato siya pangayo ang suporta ra man niya ang atong pangayo.
Treat lang nimo as hypothetical or in a
general answer. Dili kay tudloan nimo kinahanglan mo ani ka nako nya letter ta kay ato nang kuanan akana mura na gyud kag na himong iyahang abogado. Okay.
Next.
What else we have to be faithful about?
Okay, mag-maintain ta og highest fiduciary character sa tuang sa lawyer-client relationship. So,
Highest fiduciary character?
Yes.
Mas high pa kaysa fiduciary character between husband and wives, no?
yes.
Dili ta gani pwede makamarites ato ang mga banag asawa.
Oh, prohibited.
Prohibited, ha? Dili ta,
Pwede the family
husbands and
members.
wives, dili ta pwede magstorya-storya o kaso to each other. But in fairness, under the rules of evidence, naman say marital privilege. And I leave you with that wink. Okay, we have to pause for a few messages from our friends again. Nagkalingaw ang discussion as we go into our last segment. Murag di ni mahurot karong adlaw. We'll be back. Okay, and we are back. We are now still actually in Canon
Three.
Canon three.
which is fidelity. So this is the longest and most comprehensive canon in the
Yes.
new code. What else are the matters that are worthy to remember us lawyers being faithful to?
I think one matter that is important is that the lawyer should encourage settlement. Although, as lawyers, ang atong murag bawog nga livelihood kay ang paglitigate,
Paglitigate, yes.
But the canon reminds us nga, as lawyers, it's our responsibility to, if it's possible also, to let our clients
Settle.
to also to help the courts, to decongest.
More than our livelihood, no, more than our duty to our family to make a living,
Yes.
to earn money, should be our duty to find a peaceful resolution for our clients that they can mutually accept also with their opponents. Kay, wa magyuy di gyud kabayran ang kalinaw. So dapat dili kita ang magsugnod para lang maka kanang kwarta. Kung pwede ra gud ma-settle nga win-win. Ingon gani sila, the best lawyers are those who win their cases outside of court. Win-win man na. Kay it's something both opponents can accept.
And benefit both.
And it can benefit both. Less expense is entailed. Although di lang gyud sa ta ulbaan nga sus kani nga kaso kung wala ni basig mawadaan ako o kliyente wa na koy pangita dili naara gyud na mo abot. And I say this to especially to the new young lawyers, as somebody who's been practicing law for 20 years. Tinuod yun na, you just act with good faith, do your best. Yeah, God's will be done.
Yes.
No, act with good faith, best. God's will be done. Ang Ginoo jud mo balo sa imuhang kaayo.
Another
Okay.
yeah. So another topic pud sa canon sa gani nga canon
Three.
3. Canon 3 is kani nga conflict of interest. So one of the pinaka kuan karon
Hot topic.
karon is kaning conflict of interest sa public attorney's office. So,
Yes. While we are talking about that, and it is a necessity to, I suppose, talk about that because the public attorney's office maobeya gyud ang mandated na agency by government to assist indigents in their legal matters. And sometimes ang duha ka indigent mo may away which to pick as a client.
Yes.
If we're supposed to be loyal to our client, would that mean nga if we accept also the opponent as a client, under one office, that would mean we are disloyal already to the first one. So how did this code resolve that possible conflict? And it has arisen from someone who used to work in PAO. We have had that problem crop up every now and then. So unsa may kanang provision sa balaod, di gyud pwede nga PAO client na ni, di na gyud pwede ang pikas pud nga party makliyente sa PAO.
So nay provision ang balaod attorney kaning section 22 sa canon 3. Akong basahan attorney ha. Nga the public attorney's office is the primary legal aid service of the government. In pursuit of its mandate under its charter, the public attorney's office shall ensure ready access to its services by the marginalized sectors of society And then a conflict of interest of any of the lawyers of the public attorney's office incident to services rendered for the office shall be imputed only to the said lawyer and the lawyer's direct supervisor. Such conflict of interest shall not disqualify the rest of the lawyers from the public attorney's office from representing the affected client upon full disclosure to the latter and written informed consent.
Okay, so in other words, in simpler words, even if the PAO is a big law firm,
Yes.
and there could be possible conflict kung naay two members of the marginalized sector having conflicting claims or
Claims.
conflicting positions, there is not necessarily that prohibition nga basta ang pirmiro madawat na di nakakadawat sa uban. So it applies only to this particular lawyer
Lawyer.
and his or her immediate supervisor. Pwede pa ang uban maka-handle.
Makahandle.
So long as you inform both clients na pao mo duha ha, kamo duha pao ang
Sa hours.
gahandol ninyo. If you are kanang comfortable with that, if you allow that, sign a written consent. Di sad sila komportable ipasa sa IBP na may IBP pud nga legal aid.
Ang sa decision po sa Supreme Court attorney nga katong i-deny ito nga ipadelete to ang kadang section 22 nga ang PAO should not be considered as a normal law firm
Law firm,
hindi siya kanang
Di siya normal law firm. It's an agency of the government.
And lawyers are government employees, so di siya ang usual lang covered by the usual conflicts of interest.
Kay mao man gyud nay kanang kuan, mao man gyud nay presumption sa public nga pinakadako nga law firm ang PAO unya para sa kabus. So kung PAO na ning usa di na pwede ang iyang kontrama PAO pod. Actually pwede naalay informed consent niya. Dili lang sila i-handle by the same PAO lawyer or her supervisor.
Yes.
I think
What else?
we can't putting attorney section K because in other times in where abuse mo sa other people like kanang nay party nga modol sa PAO pwede din mo dayon but at the same time ang tinuod nga kabus mo na dili maka-acquire na sa
Acquire na kay human na
Kaya nakakuha
Sa
naman
services sa PAO.
anong service.
so mga tinuod nga kabus may looy gyud
May looy.
if kanang kuan di gid ma-covered
dili ni unhanay sa PAO basta qualified mo you can. Pero lahi-lahi mo og lawyers, lahi-lahi mong supervising attorneys po, unya, dapat you all consent na kuan. Pwede.
Isa na siya sa mga kuan natin, mga isa na siya sa mga problema sa mga kabus ba nga dili na ko paadto og PAO kay nanay nakauna.
Una na ako.
Nanay nakauna niya. Mo dili na siya ka engage niya. Mo engage sa private lawyer di pud siya ka afford kay mahalan pud siya.
Mahalan.
So nindot ni siya welcome development ni siya sa part sa mga kabus.
So that is something we need to remember as well kay as we know murag 80% siguro sa Filipinos kanang ni qualify actually sa service sa PAO. 70 to 80% qualify sa services sa PAO. Okay. Next up on our canons, we've already talked about fidelity na apay other time sa kung ang lawyer kay faithful dapat to the clients, how can the client show their faithfulness back to the lawyer, especially sa private practice, di ba, to pay fees.
Yes.
You know, what if gahi di mong bayad og fees saon na nato rod
kana gid attorney
maka disengage
Murag naay kuan yung ka-disengage.
Maka-design murag kana attorney murag kanang ang issue nga I think dahil kay magkinasuhay pero katong code i-discourage na siya nga murag ang fees na murag himong issue
mahimong issue, di ba? But the clients also have the obligation to
pay.
abide by the service agreement
Yes.
between him and his counsel.
So with that attorney pwede gid mo disengage yun ang mo choose ang lawyer to disengage especially if kanang
With the permission of the court.
Yes.
Kung dili mo permit ang
korte,
client,
ang client
you need the permission of the
court.
court. Okay. Sige. aside from the canons on fidelity, we've already tackled propriety and independence. We've already also touched on responsible use of social media. What other canons should we remember?
Atong canon for attorney is competence and diligence.
Competence and diligence.
So I think ang relevant ani nga kuan for us lawyers is atong MCLE,
Okay.
atong kuan mandatory continuing legal education. So as lawyers, it's our responsibility to keep abreast with the current laws and the social issues. So dapat man i-require kita sa atong Supreme Court nga to attend MCLE to so that we will be oriented to the new laws, new processes, new rules, so that we won't be behind, as well as to help our clients nga dili pud sila mabibehind as well sa ilang mga kaso o sa mga laws nga
So,
kuan.
kay it's not enough to be a good and honest lawyer. You have to be competent as well. Kung dili na di ay ka-abreast sa kuan, how can you serve? How can you be faithful and give the proper service to your clients? Nga ang diligence pud ana. Will it matter which kind of client should you be more diligent to? Naamang ko na ikuan ana nga. Ba kanang di kita ka-help. Filipino as we are, paying client ra ba ni utang na ako gining ko ano kung dili paying client pwede na nato di na lang tunaan pud ang kaso pwede na dili.
Pero apply na sa Canon 5 attorney, which is equality. Nga kanang dili dapat ma-discriminate as lawyers to our clients kay kani makabayad kini kay libre ra
Kani kay pabono na to pareho ra gyud gyapon nga i-diligent. Diligent gyud ta mo come to court prepared, well research our arguments and positions. Kuan biya pud na kanang atuan ng branding, di ba? Branding biya pud na for us professionals in any profession, ang quality sa imuhang trabaho, sa imuhang service. Okay, what else?
So equality na ta. So mo to siya isa sa kuan nato nino nga dili ta mo discriminate og client, so we can accept any kind of clients regardless of ethnicity, color, sexual orientation, or gender identity, religion. So kinahanglan nato sila i-accept as a client. Dili nato sila i-discriminate on that basis
On
alone.
that basis alone.
Yes. So kuan kay isa man sad ni siya sa napod tay provisions regarding non-discrimination, so di jud ta pwede ka discriminate based on those reasons.
Even if you are against what this person stands for, you should let him have his right to choose that stand.
Yes. Bisag dili
You should defend that.
bisag dili ka bisag dili ka agree sa iyahang principle gali iyang gipo.
But di ta kapili na ani og kaso.
Actually attorney dapat pod ka nga makapili pa ta if kinang gid ang imong principles cannot align good with your client, then the lawyer should also have the discretion nga not to handle it, but also the lawyer also has the responsibility to Mari mo siya pailaila og lain nga lawyer nga mas capable or
mas kuan kay I'm pretty sure if your client knows also nga I don't agree with you raba sir, hindi na lang kuan nga abogado mangita gyud pud na og lain nga
lawyer
kanang abogado. When we accept cases, even cases that have no merits, should we accept that? Because as lawyers, di ba, we have the obligation to be independent and tell somebody who comes to us asking to be a client, we have also the obligation to tell them meritorious ba inyuhang kaso or not. Apil man sa tong oath. We cannot pursue any false, groundless or baseless nga suit. So I suppose in the canon of equality, all things considered equal, wala ray ko an tan-awon gyud nin ato ang merit. There is still that merit test. What could possibly be an exception to a merit test? No, mag tanaw na to. Murag ikaw mo yun nakapatay ani based on the information kaning duol homicide based on the information na ay medical certificate na death certificate ay witness testimony na pag yung CCTV ikaw man naka-upload murag guilty man gyud ka ani og homicide oy. Can you say no to that?
I think kan attorney,
Remember
because every
our-
person is entitled.
Presumed
uh,
innocent. So in criminal cases, dili sa tamo think about merits of the case at the onset because he is presumed innocent. So we have to we have to blind ourselves
Yes.
to the evidence against him kay wa pa na siya matry. However, if your forte is labor law, you are suddenly called upon to handle for the first time ever a murder case of an accused. The evidences are stacked against you. What possible way, what should be an option for you nga okay, all people considered equal, pwede ko kanang atras di lang ko ani kay dili ko capable.
Yes.
Yes.
So, hindi ka makabalidly refuse attorney nga mo dawat ana and refer that client
Not for reasons of bias but really for
competent
personal competence nimo kay mo run afoul naman pud tuga-tuga kag dawat ana unya you are not competent or equipped.
You're not the best person
You're
to
not
handle.
the best person to handle that. It's okay. You can refer him to the best possible course of action. My goodness, we have only 5 minutes to wind down. What canons have we missed? Uy, the big canon on accountability. It's already the last
The
word
last.
of the title of the CPRA. So on accountability, kani minaw ta ani accountable na ta.
So I think the attorney, if sa other canons itself, if there's any violation by the lawyers, a lawyer should be held accountable to those violations.
We are not immune.
Yes.
So kana pwede mo file og administrative case or for
disciplinary
action.
Action.
Okay.
Including the removal of our licenses.
Including disbarment. Nakita yung mga balita karon awag-ulag and then na-disbar nga lawyer for his conduct towards women and journalists. So, pagid na siya nga safeguard for the public nga pwede gid ba disbar ang lawyer for those conducts.
Kaya na, perting kuanan niya sa propriety. Igo siya sa propriety. Nga, igo sad siya sa kanang use of social media.
Daghan siya.
daghan siya og naligsan ato. Oo. So reminder lang. Okay, in closing, any parting words from you, Attorney Boyce and Attorney Dexter?
kasi una sa
So I don't know. For me, I think as a new lawyer, this revision to the CPRA, I think it's a really good step forward because it's more inclusive and more detailed. Although sometimes it might feel constraining, very specific, but I think in our times now we need specificity and clarity. So I think it's a very needed change.
Yes, and in addition to that, nindot po siya nga development kay di-cover na niya ang work niya, adapt siya sa atong pagka-modern times karon kay i-apply na niya ang mga social media. So, nindot siya nga development sa ato ang legal profession and sa ato ang code of professional responsibility as a lawyer. Yes, and
to me, we go back to what ethics is. Ethics is the study of how a person should behave towards others acceptably. Unsay acceptable, proper behavior. So kita ana from the earliest sa ato ang, unless you were raised in the jungle, no, di man sad siguro we are raised in civilization. Sayo pa sa ato ang life gisugdan na tao unsay sakto nga pamatasan ug sakto nga buhat, sakto nga lihok kindergarten pa lang. Even siguro nga the CPRA is a guide because lawyers must always have the letter of the law. Kay kung left to our own devices, kita'y nangitag exception, di ba?
Yes.
Oh. Pero dili unta nato tan-awon ang CPRA as a tool of finding those exceptions. Ang atong hinumduman gyud is the proper way that we should behave as we are taught from our earliest memory or our earliest conditioning sa bata pata. No, kanang ayaw gamita ang CPRA as a guide on how to escape
Yes.
Canon 6, which is
Circumnavigate.
accountability. Kay letter of the law, ligasan lang nato gamay. Ligasan lang nato, itaan nato og kanang dili man na. Let's not try to abide by the law by avoiding the exceptions, but abide by the law by really embodying or being mindful of its spirit. So mao lang na. Thank you very much,
Thank
Attorney
you.
Boyce and Attorney Dexter,
Thank you.
for joining me and guesting in Partners in Law and in CCTN. To all our panieros and panieras, have a pleasant evening and may we all remain good citizens.